Section 1, Unit 8, Renewal in Europe. Geography of Europe. The physical features of Europe. Europe is a small continent but is very diverse. Many different landforms, water features, and climates can be found there. Although we call Europe a continent, it's actually part of Eurasia, a large landmass that includes both Europe and Asia. Geographers considers the Ural Mountains to be a boundary between two continents. Landforms and waterways. Look at the map of Europe. You can see the different parts of Europe have different features. In other words, Europe's topography varies widely from places to place. Topography refers to the shape and elevation of land in region. Mountain ranges cover much of southern Europe. Some peaks in Alps reach no higher than 15,000 feet. The highest mountains have large snowfields and glaciers. North of the Alps, the land is much flatter than in South Europe, and in fact, most southern Europe is part of the vast in northern European plains. As you can see on the map, the plain stretches all the way from the Atlantic Ocean in the west to the Ural Mountains in east. In the past, these huge expanse of land was covered with thick forests. Many types of trees grew well and the plains rich fertile soils. The northern Europe plain is also the location of most of Europe's major rivers. Many of these rivers began to melting snow in the southern mountains and flow out across the plain on the way northward to the sea. If you travel even farther north from the northern European plain, the land starts to rise again. Far northern Europe has many rugged hills and low mountains. You can see these hills and mountains in the northern part of British Isles and Scandinavia, Europe's largest peninsula. Scandinavia is the only one of Europe's many peninsulas. Smaller peninsulas extend into the sea from many parts of Europe. Climate These peninsulas give Europe a very long jagged coastline. Climate and vegetation. Like its landforms, Europe's climates and vegetation vary widely from region to region. For example, southern Europe is largely warm and sunny. As a result, shrubs and trees that don't need a lot of water are common there. Most of northern West Europe is contrast, but has a mild and cooler wet climate. Cold winds from the north and northeast can be freezing weather in winter. Freezing weather is much more common in Scandinavia, though the region is very cold throughout the year. Snow falls for much of the year, and few plants can survive the region's cold climate. Geography shapes life. In other parts of the world, geography has affected history in Europe. It influenced how people lived. In southern Europe, most people lived on coastal plains or in river valleys where the land was flat enough to farm. People grew crops like grapes and olives that could survive in regions' dry summers. In the mountains where their land was steep or rocky, people raised sheep and goats. Because southern Europe has many peninsulas, people there don't live far from the sea. As a result, many become traders and seafarers. Northern Europe. Most people in Northern Europe lived farther from the sea. They still had access to the sea. However, though the Northern Europe rivers, because rivers were an easy method of transportation, towns grew up along with them. Rivers also provide protection. The city of Paris, France, for example, was built on an island in a river to make the city hard for raiders to reach. In the fields around the cities, farmers grew all sorts of crops. These fields were excellent farmlands, but the flatlands also made an easy route for invaders to follow. No mountains blocked the people's access to northern Europe. As a result, the region was frequently invaded.